Hello my fellow gamers, and welcome to Paraglysoft's channel for the top 13 new grand strategy, 4X, and turn-based strategy games that are coming out in 2021. My name's Malarkey, and I'll be your host for this video. This video is just one in a whole playlist of videos dedicated to new games coming out in 2021. In the next videos, you'll get to see new RTS, simulation, management, base building, and squad combat strategy games. Now let's dive into all these new games you just saw briefly during this intro. Humankind is a historical, turn-based strategy game with an innovative twist which aims to give its players the power to cherry-pick the best of the best, or the worst of the worst, that human civilization has to offer. Its developers over at Amplitude Studios are working on this game with the help of the community through an open dev program, which allows players to playtest the game and to give considerable feedback, driving the game's development forward. There will be over 60 known historical cultures and their unique traits present in the game, from the Bronze to the Modern Age. And the players will get to mix and min-max them to rewrite the entire narrative of mankind. The main victory condition in this game is another new twist in the old formula, as you win the game by becoming the most famous civilization in the game. And you gain this fame through more familiar concepts like winning battles or finishing building projects, or alternatively, through moral choices and great deeds. The map is divided into hexes, on which you will see your buildings, characters, and military units. As your nation is forming and time passes, technological innovations and discoveries will change the look and feel of your cities and territories. There's no hard release date yet, so keep this one on your wish list. The links to this game's store page and its official page are in the description below, as well as links to all the other games on this list. Now, for all of you who like some magic in your hexagonal turn-based combat, I have great news, because this is the setting of the new King's Bounty game. While the first game had numerous expansions, this is a whole new game concept, and its developer and publisher, 1C Entertainment, has announced an amazing-looking game filled with content. This, my fellow gamers, is how you make a proper sequel. King's Bounty 2 changes the player's perspective on the map by making them play in a third-person perspective while exploring a non-linear open world. Only once the turn-based combat starts does the game revert to the familiar bird's-eye view of hexes and units. The battles now start on the same terrain that your character was on the world map. So if you were next to a mountain before combat started, that mountain will be a part of the battlefield. In these battles, where terrain plays a major role, line of sight is now an important game mechanic. Players will choose from 3 different heroes and can align themselves with different ideals: strength, art, order, and anarchy, which act as their specialization. Each squad of units will be wholly unique, and their stats and abilities will change and grow with each battle. Add to this player choices that matter and carry weight throughout the campaign, and we've got ourselves one potentially incredible game. While the King's Bounty franchise has its own lore, this next game is based on something many of you will recognize instantly: the Warhammer universe. More specifically, the Age of Sigmar. This game will be subtitled Stormground, and while it's going to be turn-based, the developers from Gasket Games promise dynamic and spectacular gameplay, packed with fast-paced warfare. Their words, and I will hold them to that. You as the player will become a commander, one of the extraordinary factions from the Warhammer Age of Sigmar lore, and lead highly customizable forces in a non-linear campaign. Victories in this game will allow you to collect and upgrade new types of units, find powerful equipment, and unlock devastating skills. During each new playthrough, you'll keep upgrading your units and gear, while in the online mode, you'll be able to play in 1v1 PvP battles. No gameplay has been shown yet, but that shouldn't be far now. Focus Home Interactive, the publisher of the game, is now known for several Warhammer-related games, and each time they've published games worthy of this franchise. And since we're already talking about the Warhammer franchise, here's another game coming out in 2021, which took seemingly totally incompatible concepts, American football and dark fantasy, and made them work: Blood Bowl 3. The iconic death sport returns with more blood, more gruesome animations, and more, well, of everything. Races, bases, moves, and counter moves. In case you're not familiar with this game, it's a turn-based strategy where as the coach, you must give instructions to your players to hinder the progress of your opponents by positioning them in your tackle zone, knocking down those who get in your way, and breaking through to your opponent's end zone to score a touchdown. All your players, or better said units, can gain experience and receive bonuses to their stats or new skills. However, you have to be careful, as injuries are common, especially when the referee is a goblin who tends to overlook most forms of violence. Some players may even leave the field limp and lifeless, putting an early and definitive end to their careers. Brutal, crazy, tactical, and unfair? That's Blood Bowl. So if you've been enjoying this video, please don't mind me reminding you to hit that like button below, tell us your most anticipated game of 2021, or your favorite from 2020, and subscribe if you'd like to be notified when another video like this gets posted. Now, let's keep the ball rolling and talk about Knights of Honor 2, Sovereign, a sequel we've been waiting for 15 years. This is a medieval real-time grand strategy game where the players get to manage provinces, gather armies, initiate diplomacy, create a royal court, and dabble in espionage. The goal is to become the true sovereign of your people and bring them to glory through trade, warfare, and even some not-so-tactful backstabbing. But that's not all, as you can jump into battles directly in action-packed RTS combat. The developers over at Black Sea Games promise deep gameplay mechanics when it comes to city development, religion, diplomacy, and ruling over your subjects and lands through royal court appointments like the marshals, clerics, merchants, diplomats, and spies. Knights of Honor 2 will even let you do all of this with friends in multiplayer. Let's move away from the medieval setting for a moment and go to the near future in Xenonauts 2, a sequel to the 2014 turn-based science fiction indie game, which took the original XCOM gameplay and brought it to the next level. For the sequel, developers from Goldhawk Interactive are planning to keep all the hallmark features we know and love: deep and challenging strategy layer, tense complex turn-based combat, inventory and soldier management, research and panic levels. But they're also adding a host of new features: 3D tactical environments, a rotatable camera, jungle and boreal biomes for combat maps, new aliens to fight, improved AI system, a larger research tree, more equipment for soldiers, as well as more detailed and immersive geoscape simulations. These are all grand promises, and we can only hope the devs deliver on them. Keeping in line with science fiction, it's time to talk about Phantom Brigade, a game with a really cool concept and which also looks great. In essence, it's a hybrid turn-based and real-time tactical RPG. But what this really means is that you plan out your moves in a turn-based overlay, and then watch the action happen in real time, complete with destructible environments and huge mechs combat. The RPG elements are multitude. You have mech customizations and tuning, squad management, base construction and resource management, a storyline, and a full campaign. Brace Yourself Games has been developing this game for a number of years, and it's bound to be a polished game as they've demonstrated with their other game, Industries of Titan, which Peter has covered numerous times. In Phantom Brigade, you'll have access to a world map and choose your next battles from there in an attempt to retake your war-torn homeland. The missions you will undertake will be everything from sabotage of enemy equipment and infiltration of high-tech facilities, to convoy ambushes and challenging outpost onslaughts. Now, let's zoom out to a much higher level gameplay with Terra Invicta from the developers over at Dominus Interactive, who are making a sci-fi grand strategy and management sim game set during an alien invasion. If this sounds familiar, well, it should, as these are the creators of Long War Overhaul mod for XCOM Enemy Unknown. In their game, you'll not only get to fight the aliens in real time with pause in a separate space combat layer, but also explore and settle the whole solar system, which is modeled to represent accurate celestial scales, and which serves as a dynamic strategic map in which the game's factions must compete for resources. Your faction is the Resistance, the only organization not infiltrated by the aliens, and with a clear goal of defending the human race. You'll give orders to your assets, counselors, Earth's nations and armies, space habitats, and space fleets, and run the time forward while those orders are executed. You'll also manage scarce resources to upgrade your agents, build your off-world industrial base, and design and construct ships. These developers are definitely going with go big or go home for this one. The next game on our list is called Strategic Mind: Fight for Freedom, and it's a story-driven turn-based strategy set in the World War II period. It's developed by Starny Games, and it is not the first, but actually the fourth game in their own franchise. These games offer their players refined wargame mechanics with ground, air, and naval forces, a day-night cycle, and weather effects, story-rich gameplay, and 3D graphics in the Unreal Engine 4. This sequel is about the British and US historical operations and battles against Germany, and also features a number of alternate history battles against the USSR. You'll be able to upgrade and customize your troops by leveling them up and selecting skills that best suit your tactics to provide your troops with additional equipment for each operation according to your strategy and the war theater. You'll also be able to receive a number of awards throughout the game as a way to get access to unique HQ skills, which you can learn to increase the efficiency and synergy of your troops. You'll unlock new units and troops as time passes, and they become available for recruitment. In case you've never tried out one of these games, you are definitely missing out on the really cool gameplay. You might be growing tired of hexes by now, but bear with me a little longer because this next game has some magnificent features to show off. Birth of Civilization is a historical, turn-based 4X strategy game, which portrays an entire planet to scale, complete with almost 200,000 hexes, and has a full climate simulation. It lets you play all the way from the Ice Age around 55,000 BC up until the fall of the Western Roman Empire. Due to the sheer size of the game's maps, exploration will be quite unique in each game, so there won't be a fog of war because unit sight will be limited, literally by the Earth's curvature. At the beginning of the game, you'll only have a tiny nomadic tribe and a progression system that gives complete freedom in how to expand and progress your civilizations. Naturally, there will be other civilizations, and that means war. But these wars are going to be on a massive scale, as the developers from Code Arts promised unprecedented armies, and as they put it, and I quote, "Officially, there is no limit on units." Also, since their game is based on this beautiful world they're creating, all factors of terrain like height and biome will have tactical significance in combat. Another inspired game with a large game world is made by a Swedish developer named Lava Potion, who calls this game genre classic adventure strategy. Songs of Conquest is in fact a turn-based game where you build a kingdom, raise armies, and control powerful magicians called wielders. You'll quest around for loot, fight monsters, optimize build orders, and strategies to pick off the enemy teams. Combat is a major part of the game, as you'll recruit troops and your wielders will command them on the battlefield. The wielders harness a magic called the Essence. By combining your wielder's skills with the essence of the troops, you get access to powerful spells. In practical terms, this means that a unit's specialization combined with the wielder's powers unlocks unit abilities. The development team behind Songs of Conquest draws its inspiration from Heroes of Might and Magic and Total War. You'll level up individual wielders, commanders to call them by their function, as well as buildings and troops. This game is set in a diverse and rich fantasy world with its various distinct and different civilizations made up of different races and nations, and is planned to feature 4 mechanically different factions, local multiplayer, and a level editor. We expected this game in 2020, but it's been pushed back to 2021. If you're a fan of old school party and turn-based RPGs, you'll love this next game on our list. Realms Beyond is set in a huge fantasy world, which you'll get to explore while leading companions into the depth of forgotten dungeons in search for lost treasures and ancient mysteries. It's being developed by Series Games, and its key features are turn-based combat with over 100 spells, feats, and actions, each with unique and stunning visual effects. A custom-built, isometric graphic engine that combines zoomable 2D and 3D technology, which should give the players amazingly detailed characters and environments. A bustling open world spanning entire continents filled with believable NPCs, complex cultures, factions, societies, and a fascinating history. A party made up of up to 6 characters with customizable appearances, ranging from 7 different races and 8 different classes. Thousands of individual items to use and interact with, and an epic storyline, massive quests, uncounted missions, hordes of monsters, and a world that is steeped in lore and mystery. On top of all this content, you will get to be able to create your own adventures, campaigns, or even entire worlds using the game's engine framework. This is modding embedded into the game with already set up tools, which is something you rarely see these days. It all sounds like a fairy tale, so we can only wait to see if it comes true. And so we come to our last game, and back to the Warhammer universe. More specifically, 40k universe with Adeptus, Titanicus, Dominus. This is a 3D turn-based game adaptation of Games Workshop's Titan Legion's tabletop game, which puts you in control of the greatest weapons available to the Imperium of Man, the mighty titans of the Adeptus Titanicus. The developers over at Membrane Studios promise easy to play, but challenging to master game mechanics filled with deeply strategic and also quick tactical gameplay. As a commander, you'll have access to the most classic and iconic Titan units from the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Warhounds, Reavers, and the Gigantic Warlord for both the Imperial and Chaos factions. Each of these Titans will have multiple variants available, featuring different weapon configurations. Players will get to choose their faction from 4 Loyalist Legios, as well as 4 Chaos Legios, and fight in several game modes with multiplayer victory conditions, as well as 12 fixed forces scenarios, and a full single-player campaign. There will also be a skirmish and multiplayer mode in the game, where you will create armies using a points-based system. And that's all, my fellow gamers. I hope you liked this rundown of 13 new grand strategy, 4X, and turn-based strategy games coming out in 2021. More videos are on the way, and they'll be posted here as cards on the screen. If you've enjoyed my voice and presentation, I want to invite you to check out my channel where I do Let's Plays. Link is in the description. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!